listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending. Our topic tonight, as you know, is maximize your metabolism to lose weight. My name is Dr. Joseph DeBay. I'm a board-certified nutritionist practicing in Great Neck. When it comes to weight loss, I ask the question, what's your goal? Is your goal actually to lose weight? If there were no scales on planet Earth and you couldn't know your weight, would you still have a goal? My point is, weight loss is really not the goal. The goal, I think, is to look better, to be healthier. People like to see if their weight changes, but more important than weight is your body composition, how your clothes fit, how you look. This picture shows we could have two people that have the same body weight, but their body composition can be very different. The person on the left has a healthy body composition. They have a good amount of muscle and a lower amount of body fat. The person on the right, who weighs the same, has less lean, healthy muscle weight and more body fat. Muscle is very important when it comes to weight loss or fat loss. If you lose muscle, your metabolic rate slows down. For every pound of muscle you lose, you'll gain about 2/3 of a pound of fat over 12 months. With the aging process, we tend to lose muscle. That's probably one of the reasons why people have increased weight gain in the way of fat gain with aging. Percentage body fat or adiposity is not directly related to height or weight. So just looking at your weight or your body mass index, which is calculated from your height and weight, those things don't necessarily tell us if you have a good body composition, if you have a proper amount of body fat. I do a test in my office, a bioimpedance analysis, or BIA. It's a test that uses a computer program and measurements of electrical resistance and reactance to determine a person's body fat percentage, their lean tissue weight as well. And I track these changes over time. Sometimes I'll see people lose weight, but they're losing too much muscle. Other times we'll see people who don't have a change in the scale, but when we do the body composition test, we see that they've lost fat and put on muscle at the same time. Weight and body mass index do not evaluate body compartments and therefore do not reveal if weight changes result in loss of fat-free mass or gain in fat mass. BIA, that's the test I do, may be clinically useful for demonstrating sarcopenic obesity, that's low muscle, high fat, in women at normal body mass indices, with additional studies necessary to determine the metabolic reasons underlying this change in body composition. That phrase, in women at normal body mass indices, that refers to women who aren't obese. They may appear to be normal weight. They may not think of themselves as obese, but this type of specialized testing reveals that they are obese. They have too much body fat, and they have too little muscle. And with additional studies, laboratory testing, we can endeavor to get to the underlying metabolic causes for the unhealthy body composition. Tonight I'll be talking about things that interfere with metabolism that can be evaluated, and I'll also be sharing, hopefully, a few new ideas that you can put into play right away to try and improve your metabolism. When it comes to weight loss, a lot of people focus on caloric restriction. Carbohydrates contain 4 calories per gram of food. Gram of protein is the same. Alcohol has 7 calories per gram, and fat 9 calories per gram. So if we look at these numbers, I think it's pretty easy to understand why low-fat diets have been popular. Fat is high in calories, more than twice what you find in carbohydrate and protein. So yeah, if we just do the math, low-fat diets would seem to be the way to go. You cut down on fat, you're cutting down on calories. Weight loss is a simple matter of reducing caloric intake and increasing energy expenditure to create a caloric deficit. Right? That would be true if your body were a machine. And I'm going to go on to tell you that eating a low-fat diet is not necessarily the best way to try and lose weight. Even though a low-fat diet is a good way to cut down on calories, it's not always an effective way to lose weight and keep it off. Metabolism is very complex, and between putting a food in your mouth and your body burning calories, there are a lot of things that can happen to determine whether the food is going to be burned for calories or stored as fat or used to build muscle. An example of the problem with just looking at calories is a study that was done on postmenopausal women who were overweight and obese with high cholesterol. They were put on 2 different dietary programs. One was the American Heart Association diet, and the other was a low glycemic index, low glycemic load diet with a nutritional supplement, a powdered meal replacement product, a medical food called Ultrameal Plus, which I use in my practice. And both groups of women did the same exercise. They consumed the same number of calories. So again, just with mathematics, you would think they start off with about the same body weight. They're eating the same number of calories. They're doing the same amount of exercise. Their weight loss should be equal. But that's not what was found. The American Heart Association diet over 12 weeks produced 7.8 pounds of weight loss. The low glycemic index diet produced 14.8 pounds of weight loss, almost twice the weight loss. And improvements in all the various cardiovascular risk factors that were examined were also better with the low glycemic index diet. 2 diets with the same number of calories, but the compositions of the diets were very different. And that's really key. Food contains biological response modifiers. The biochemicals in food influence your metabolism, influence your physiology, influence your ability to burn fat, amount of fat stored, ability to build lean tissue, and your ultimate body composition and body weight. Here's another study from the Journal of the American Medical Association. Effects of a low glycemic load diet on resting energy expenditure and heart disease risk factors during weight loss. Low glycemic load refers to the amount of carbohydrate in a food or a diet. So this study examined 2 different dietary plans for weight loss. A low glycemic load diet and a low-fat diet. And this study starts off by saying with weight loss, there are adaptations that occur in the body that lead to plateauing. And people who have attempted to lose weight have experienced this. You can lose, people often are able to lose weight to a point, and then their weight loss plateaus. And one reason is because there are adaptations that occur in the body, changes in its biochemicals that stop the weight loss process. That's one of the factors. So this study looked at people on 2 different dietary plans. Both groups lost similar amount of weight, had a similar body composition, but there were differences in two other important areas. Compared with the low-fat diet, the low glycemic load diet produced a better effect on resting energy expenditure and hunger. One of the adaptations that occurs with weight loss is a reduction in resting energy expenditure. Your body doesn't burn as many calories. And this happens much more if you lose muscle. That's why it's very important to maintain your muscle. That's something that I track with my patients. Make sure that they're not losing too much muscle. The low glycemic load diet had a better effect on hunger. So which plan do you think people are going to be able to stick with long term? The low glycemic load diet. They're not going to be tempted to stray from their healthy way of eating as much. Rather than counting calories, a better goal is to burn more calories 24 hours per day by increasing your metabolic rate. So we're going to talk about some things you can do to increase your metabolic rate, and we're going to talk about the various factors, or a lot of the factors that can interfere with your metabolic rate. When it comes to weight loss, these are some of the important areas to consider: appetite and food cravings, body fat storage, body fat burning, muscle preservation, and growth. I did a webinar last month on appetite and food cravings, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that now. That webinar is available on my website. You can go back and take a look at that. So we'll touch on a little bit on appetite, but I want to really share some new concepts tonight. What controls these factors? It's not just willpower. Willpower is important. The endocrine system has a lot to do with your metabolic rate, your ability to lose weight. The endocrine system includes the brain, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, the adrenal glands, thyroid, ovaries, testes, pancreas, and body fat. Body fat produces a number of biochemicals that influence your hunger, insulin sensitivity, inflammation, fat storage, fat breakdown, muscle breakdown, your body composition. And if you have a lot of fat around the middle, that becomes the loudest voice in the endocrine system. And you can get into vicious cycles where the body fat produces chemicals that perpetuate the body fat, make it difficult to burn the body fat. Muscle is part of the endocrine system. Muscle produces biochemicals that influence the activity of other tissues in the body. And so does the skeleton. There are a number of studies showing that skeletal hormones influence the activity of brown fat, which is very metabolically active. The brown fat increases metabolic rate, heat production, calorie burning. So having a healthy skeleton can translate into having a better body composition, less body fat. Another part of the endocrine system is the intestinal flora, the 100 trillion bacteria that live within our intestinal tract. The intestinal flora has metabolic activity about on par with the liver. They influence our physiology in so many different ways. There's a laboratory test I do where we measure levels of different types of bacteria. There's something called an adiposity index. If a person has an imbalance in different families of bacteria within their intestinal tract, they may be more predisposed to weight gain, to increased body fat. Okay, on to genetics now, or prenatal effects. This study is entitled Intake of Trans Fatty Acid-Rich Hydrogenated Fat During Pregnancy and Lactation Inhibits the Hypophagic Effect of Central Insulin in the Adult Offspring. This is an animal study, and it found that feeding pregnant mothers hydrogenated fat during pregnancy and lactation resulted in changes in appetite, increased appetite in the offspring. Early intrauterine perinatal exposure to hydrogenated fat rich in trans fatty acids programmed the hypothalamic feeding control mechanisms. So this type of unnatural fat changes the functioning of a part of the brain called the hypothalamus that controls hunger. Hydrogenated oils are something that I recommend people avoid as much as possible. There's really no good reason to be consuming them. If you want to have cookies, get cookies made with butter. Don't have hydrogenated oils, the most toxic type of fat. This represents genetics, the individual's blueprint for all the potential, all their physical structure, all their various possibilities for health and disease. These are influences on the genes. These are negative influences: nutrient insufficiencies, toxic overload, stress, insufficient rest, inadequate exercise, chronic inflammation, neuroendocrine or hormone imbalance. These things activate genes that encode for biochemicals that will change the functioning of cells, tissues, and organs to result in weight gain and a lot of unpleasant signs and symptoms. So for me to help people with weight loss, I like to learn about these different areas. I like to learn about their genetics, the triggers, their metabolism, and their signs and symptoms, so we can tailor a program to try and target what's out of balance in their situation. This paper is about an interesting study done in animals showing that genetic expression in utero could be altered by feeding the pregnant animal with different nutrients. DNA methylation, insulin resistance, and blood pressure in offspring determined by maternal periconceptional B vitamin and methionine status. What this is about is altering which genes are expressed, shutting off certain genes by using higher levels of nutrients during pregnancy. The offspring is very different when higher levels of these nutrients are given. This modest early dietary intervention led to adult offspring that were both heavier and fatter. Okay, it was the group that got the nutrients that were leaner. The group that didn't get the nutrients were heavier and fatter. This is a mouse that's prone to obesity. A Agouti mouse has a higher risk of cancer and diabetes as well, and it's white. When they gave the pregnant Agouti mouse higher levels of various nutrients, it changed which genes were activated, and the offspring were different in color, they were leaner, and they didn't get those diseases. There was a study done in humans that found that obese individuals had altered genetic expression that seemed to play a role in their obesity. And we're starting to learn the various things that we can do that can alter genetic expression, and nutritional status and diet is a big part of that. So when it comes to maximizing metabolism and weight loss, there are a lot of different influences to consider if you're having difficulty with weight loss, for sure. Exercise, and exercise is important way beyond just burning calories. It influences so many different aspects of physiology that influence weight loss. Rest and sleep, and we'll be talking about some interesting studies on sleep. Stress, nutrient deficiencies, food sensitivities. I'll mention briefly there's some research on food sensitivity testing showing that people that eliminate foods that their body is reacting to have better weight loss. We'll be talking a little bit about toxicity. Inflammation influences your ability to lose weight, insulin resistance, hormone and neurotransmitter imbalance, mitochondrial function, that's where the energy is produced within the cells, and pH balance, acid-alkaline balance. Different hormones influence body composition and appetite in different ways. Leptin helps your body to control hunger and burn fat. Cortisol increases hunger and leads to fat storage. And different things we do influence these hormones in different ways. Here's a study, depressive symptoms and change in abdominal obesity in older persons. The study shows that depressive symptoms result in an increase in abdominal obesity, independent of overall obesity, suggesting that there may be specific pathophysiological mechanisms that link depression with visceral fat accumulation. Depression causes changes in the body that lead to fat accumulation around the middle. And one of the hormones that's well known for contributing to fat around the middle is cortisol, the stress hormone cortisol. And cortisol is associated with depression. Depression can result in a higher cortisol and increased fat around the middle. So your mood state may actually be influencing your abdominal fat. Again, it's not just appetite, not just willpower. Circadian rhythm profiles in women with night eating syndrome. So there's a term for a situation where people eat a lot of their calories late in the day, night eating syndrome. And it's been found that people with night eating syndrome have a lot of biological abnormalities. Considering these results, chronobiologic treatments for night eating syndrome such as bright light therapy may be useful. And it's been found that bright light therapy may actually help some people to lose weight. Here's a paper on that, obesity treated with phototherapy, 4 case studies. So they treated 4 overweight women with bright light therapy. 3 of the 4 reduced their net weight 1.5 to 2.4 kilograms. 2.4 kilograms is over 5 pounds, and this is over about 6 weeks' time, just with light therapy. Sleep is very important when it comes to your metabolic rate. Lack of sleep leads to lower leptin levels and elevated ghrelin levels, which increases hunger. So if you don't get enough sleep, you're more likely to overeat. Here's another study. Sleep curtailment is accompanied by increased intake of calories from snacks. Sleep restriction was accompanied by increased consumption of calories from snacks. Another study, insufficient sleep undermines dietary efforts to reduce adiposity. In this study, they had 2 groups of people consume the same diet. They had a caloric restriction diet. They cut back on their calories equally in both groups, and they just varied the amount of sleep they got. One group was allowed to sleep for 8.5 hours, the other 5.5 hours. And both groups lost an equal amount of weight over the study period, but where the weight came from differed quite a bit. The group that got less sleep, 5.5 hours sleep, didn't lose as much fat. They only lost 0.6 kilograms of fat versus 1.4 kilograms of fat. And they also had a greater loss of lean body weight, 2.4 kilograms loss of lean tissue versus 1.5 kilograms in the group that got the 8.5 hours of sleep. So not getting enough sleep apparently can have a bad effect on your body composition, cause your body to lose more lean tissue rather than fat. And consistent with the other studies, people that got less sleep in this study had increased hunger. And the study found that they were less efficient at burning fat. So if you want to lose weight more efficiently, sleep. That's easy, isn't it? It's not always no pain, no gain. Go relax. Lay in bed for 8 hours. Leptin is a hormone produced by fat cells. It signals to the brain that you have eaten enough and to burn more calories. Obese people tend to have high leptin levels, but the problem is that the leptin doesn't work well. The brain doesn't respond to the leptin signal. That's called leptin resistance. So when it comes to the effects of hormones in the body, there's a number of factors. There's the amount of hormone that's produced, and there's the activity of the hormone at the cell target site. Those are a couple of the important factors. And there are a lot of things that we do that have wind up having a bad effect on leptin, and ultimately that can lead to weight gain and difficulty with weight loss. Sugar increases leptin spikes, leading to leptin resistance. Now, to improve leptin function, increasing dietary protein has been found to be helpful. High cortisol levels, the stress hormone cortisol, contributes to leptin resistance. CRP, which is an inflammatory protein, inhibits leptin binding to its receptors, and in animal studies has been found to increase appetite and interfere with weight loss. Fish oil supplementation has been found to improve leptin sensitivity, as well as exercise. Now, this is one of the physiologic adaptations that occurs with weight loss. Leptin levels fall, and so do calories burned. Thyroid and epinephrine levels fall. In animal studies, leptin injections were found to restore thyroid, epinephrine, and metabolism. Now, it's not practical for humans, but what we can do is take steps to optimize leptin metabolism. There was a study that found that the cooking temperature used in preparing meals influenced an individual's leptin levels. Meals that were cooked at high temperature produced a reduction in leptin levels. So you might want to eat more raw foods. Don't have as many well-cooked foods, especially animal products. Another thing we can do to make leptin work better and help with weight loss is to eat the right types of fat. One type of fat that's good for weight loss for a number of reasons is monounsaturated fats, which you find in olives, almonds, avocados. A monounsaturated fatty acid-rich diet improves leptin sensitivity compared to a saturated-rich and carbohydrate-rich diet. I'm going to show you some research later on about some other types of fats that are equally or more important for other reasons. But I think a good part of the diet, a good part of fat intake should be monounsaturated fatty acids. Saturated fats you find in animal products by and large. And before I mentioned the hydrogenated oils, you find those in all kinds of convenience processed foods. Asking an obvious, simple question, should you lose weight to get healthy or get healthy to lose weight? What do you think? An individual might go to their doctor with different complaints and be found to have different problems, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, they're obese, depressed, maybe they have joint pain, and they wind up getting a different medication for each one of these complaints. So they're taking a drug for their obesity, try and reduce their appetite to try and get healthy. The thing is, all these different conditions are the result of an unhealthy metabolic state, imbalance in various chemical messaging substances in the body. And if we go all the way upstream, try and get to the underlying cause as much as possible, the imbalanced metabolism is a result of things like stress, toxicity, nutrient imbalances, inadequate rest, improper exercise, inflammation, food sensitivity. So if we identify and work on those areas, the metabolism improves, and those various conditions, including the obesity, improve. And there's less of a need for all those different medications. The one condition that's most known for impairing weight loss is the thyroid. And there are a lot of people who have an undiagnosed underactive thyroid. There are shades of gray when it comes to thyroid function. A lot of people have suboptimal thyroid function, and a conventional medical workup often misses an underactive thyroid. The blood tests that are used are not interpreted properly. In my experience, they're not comprehensive enough. In addition to the blood testing, I take into account an individual's symptom profile and their body temperature and other signs that can result from an underactive thyroid. Here's a quote from the Environmental Protection Agency. Numerous environmental agents have been reported to alter thyroid hormone levels in humans, wildlife, animals, and laboratory and animal models. Typically, hypothyroidism is the consequence of exposure to environmental chemicals. Now, when people do have an underactive thyroid diagnosed, they're not usually told that their condition might be the result of environmental chemicals. They're usually just given a medication to replace the hormone that their thyroid's not able to produce on its own. This is my summary slide of some of the things that can result in an underactive thyroid. I have articles on my website that talk about the causes of an underactive thyroid in quite a bit of detail. If your body is too acid, your thyroid hormone won't work as well as it should. None of the hormones or enzymes work as well if your body is too acidic. If you're lacking in iodine, that can result in an underactive thyroid. Iodine is part of the structure of the thyroid molecule. If you have too much fluoride, chlorine, bromide, these displace the iodine, and it can interfere with thyroid function. And these chemicals are found in toothpaste, water, medications, Teflon pans, many different sources. We're exposed to them every day in various quantities. Mercury toxicity and other heavy metals can interfere with thyroid metabolism. Selenium deficiency and other deficiencies, vitamin A, D, EPA and DHA you find in fish oil. These deficiencies can contribute to an underactive thyroid. Gluten sensitivity contributes to an autoimmune attack on the thyroid gland. Environmental chemicals can poison the thyroid. Stress, high levels of the stress hormone cortisol can impair thyroid hormone function. And too much estrogen, as well as impaired liver and kidney function. This study looked at individuals that were put on a weight loss diet. They had levels of organochlorines or pesticides measured in their blood, and their thyroid hormone T3 levels were measured, as well as their resting metabolic rate. And it was found with weight loss, there was an increase in pesticides in the blood with a reduction in thyroid hormone and metabolic rate. Apparently what happened was, with weight loss, pesticides were released from the fat, poisoned the thyroid hormone, and slowed the metabolic rate. So a person is going to be more likely to gain weight when their metabolic rate slows. Body fat contains fat-soluble toxins. The average person has hundreds of different environmental chemicals in their body fat. When you lose fat, those toxins are released into circulation, and potentially your body can be poisoned. And the thyroid is very sensitive to poisoning. This might be another reason why people hit plateaus with weight loss, because of toxicity. Weight loss can actually produce toxicity. You're poisoning yourself as toxins are released from your body fat. Does this mean you should give up on weight loss? No, but you should be smart about how you go about it. You don't want to go on a diet that's very low in calories, low in nutrients. You need adequate nutrition for your detoxification enzymes to run. So that's one thing that you need to do. You need to be on a nutritionally sound program. You need to be on a diet that's going to give you adequate nourishment. You don't want to go on a crash diet and try to lose 20 pounds in a week. Everybody's so eager to lose weight, but you have to do it the right way. Otherwise, you're going to wind up paying for it in the long run. A new term is that of obesogens. Obesogens are environmental chemicals that produce obesity. Recent research in a number of laboratories suggests the existence of chemicals that alter regulation of energy balance to favor weight gain and obesity. These obesogens derail the homeostatic mechanisms important for weight control, such that exposed individuals are predisposed to weight gain despite normal diet and exercise. Here's another study. Using data from N. Haynes, we investigated the association between body mass index, waist circumference, and selected persistent organic pollutants. So these are environmental chemicals that get stored in the body fat. Body mass index and waist circumference are associated with persistent organic pollutants levels, making the chemicals plausible contributors to the obesity epidemic. So difficulty with weight loss can be related to toxicity. This is one way to assess toxicity. This is a test I do in my office, a functional acuity contrast test. This is a visual test, and an individual's ability to discriminate shades of gray have been shown to correlate with neurological toxicity. Quite a few different environmental chemicals have been found to give rise to an abnormal result on this test. It was an interesting animal study. They exposed one group of animals to extremely low levels of a herbicide called atrazine, and the other group was not exposed to this herbicide. And it was found chronic administration of atrazine decreased basal metabolic rate and increased body weight, intra-abdominal fat, and insulin resistance without changing food intake or physical activity level. A high-fat diet further exacerbated insulin resistance and obesity. This is very interesting. Without changing calories or exercise, this herbicide poisoned energy production and resulted in increased body fat. Could the same thing be happening in people? Then on the top we have the distribution of atrazine use in the United States. The bottom map has the incidence of obesity. And at a glance, it looks like there's a fair correlation there. On to another subject. If you don't want fat on your body, don't eat fat, right? And that's a logical, simplistic thought, but it's not accurate. Modifications in dietary fat profile have been shown to affect body weight gain and adiposity. The types of fat you eat have a major effect on weight gain and body fat. Some fats increase body fat, others actually decrease body fat. There's an article on my website entitled Eat the Right Type of Fat to Lose Weight, and I talk about a study where animals were fed a high carbohydrate diet or 3 high-fat diets differing in the types of fat, and it was found that the group that gained the least amount of fat was the group that was fed fish oil. Saturated and trans fats are not good for weight loss as a rule. You find saturated fats in animal products, beef and dairy, for example. Virtually all processed convenience foods have trans fats. Breads, cakes, cookies, candy, crackers, muffins, chips, cereals, frozen dinners. These are mitochondria. There's a blow-up of mitochondrion. This is the structure within cells where food and oxygen are combined to produce energy. Saturated fats reduce your energy production. Omega-3 fats increase energy production. Omega-3 fats are richest in fish, cold water fish. You find some omega-3 fats in flaxseed. That's the best plant source. And the omega-3 fats are beneficial for weight loss in a number of ways. They decrease appetite, increase glycogen synthesis, that's stored carbohydrate, reduce fat synthesis, increase fat breakdown, increase calorie burning, and improve functioning of the endocrine system, make the hormones work better. Hormones and neurotransmitters, brain chemicals. Oh, another thing I should add is the omega-3 fats are anti-inflammatory. This study looked at carbohydrate-rich diet versus diets that are high in 2 different types of fat, monounsaturated or saturated fats. When patients were fed a carbohydrate-enriched diet, their fat mass was redistributed toward the abdominal depot, whereas periphery fat accumulation decreased compared with isocaloric, monounsaturated fat, and high saturated fat diets. So what you eat can influence where you put on the fat. Carbohydrates tend to contribute to more fat around the middle versus the fats, which may put it more on the hips and thighs. And this was another study looking at the effect of different types of dietary fat. Again, the monounsaturated fat versus saturated fat. And it was found that the monounsaturated fat-rich diet produced greater weight loss and fat loss compared with the saturated fat-rich diet. Another type of beneficial fat for weight loss are medium-chain triglycerides. You can take these in supplemental form in a liquid. Coconut oils, a good source of these. Significant decreases of body weight, the amount of body fat, subcutaneous and visceral fat were noted in the medium long-chain triglyceride group as compared with those of the long-chain triglyceride group for 12 weeks. So expanding on the previous slide, these are some things that will impair your energy production and your weight loss. Saturated fats, too much insulin, toxicity, inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, and underactive thyroid, low DHEA, which is an adrenal hormone, and things that improve your energy production and ability to burn fat, omega-3 fatty acids, exercise, T3, thyroid hormone, DHEA, another type of fatty acid called CLA, and alpha-lipoic acid. This isn't a comprehensive list, but these are a few of the important factors. So let's finish up with what you can do to try and improve your metabolic rate and aid your fat loss and improvement in body composition. Don't skip meals. Skipping meals leads to increased production of cortisol and gluconeogenesis, that's blood sugar formation, resulting in muscle loss. So if you go too long without eating, your body releases cortisol, and that converts your muscle into sugar. You want to eat breakfast, eat frequently, 3 small meals, plus 2 to 3 snacks a day. And that helps to maintain stable blood sugar, keeps your energy high, and controls your appetite, and allows your body to access fat for energy rather than storing it. And to do this, this is facilitated by using a good quality meal replacement product, a medical food. I recommend different meal replacement products for different purposes. And these are usually in the form of a shake, a powder you mix with water and drink. And these are nutrient dense with lower amount of calories. Eat mostly whole, unrefined foods the way nature provides them. Eat a lot of plant foods, a lot of vegetables. Fill up on low glycemic vegetables like broccoli, celery, cauliflower. A couple of other things I didn't add to this presentation yet are drink water. There's a couple of studies I've seen now on drinking water prior to meals can help with weight loss. 1 or 2 glasses prior to meals. I'd say maybe 15 minutes before meals, so you don't interfere with digestion, is a good idea to try and control your appetite. Other things that you can use prior to meals: whey protein. It's been found to reduce appetite, and you can take whey protein in a powder in a liquid form, or you could take it in a bar form. And stevia may be a good choice too. Stevia is a natural sweetener, doesn't have calories. Stevia has been found to result in lower sugar and insulin levels than consuming sugar, and lower insulin is good for weight loss. Eat omega-3 rich fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and or take high-quality fish oil supplements, and there are blood tests available to see where your omega-3 levels actually are. Don't drink most of your calories, especially soda. That's a waste for calories. At least with juice, you get some nutrition. Do drink green tea. Green tea is beneficial for weight loss in a number of ways. Green tea allows your body to access fat for energy rather than carbohydrate. Green tea results in increased metabolic rate and greater weight loss. Just by consuming green tea or taking green tea supplements, you can increase your weight loss. A good green tea capsule can have the equivalent of something like 5 to 10 cups of green tea. Limit your saturated fats and omega-6 oils. You find those in plant oils like corn, safflower, sunflower. I recommend avoiding those oils. An exception would be a high oleic safflower or sunflower oil. Avoid hydrogenated oils. Do resistance exercise like weight training to build muscle and increase the number of calories your body burns at rest. The more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn 24 hours per day. Get adequate sleep. Practice stress reduction, particularly if stress is a problem for you. Get adequate sunlight exposure. I didn't really touch on that too much, but that can influence your hormones, neurotransmitters, and weight loss. 5-HTP I spoke about in the appetite lecture. That's been found to reduce appetite and result in weight loss. And here are some of the weight loss supplements with some research. Green tea, we spoke about. Omega-3 fatty acids like fish oil, medium-chain triglycerides, possibly grapeseed extract. Carnitine. Carnitine is something that your body makes naturally. Doesn't always make enough. There are lab tests that can check your carnitine status, and taking supplemental carnitine can help you to lose more weight. Carnitine transports fats into the part of the cell where they get burned for energy. And there have been studies in older people. Carnitine can also help to build muscle while burning fat. Integraline was the subject of a study that helped to improve body fat in people with metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance. CLA, that's a fat we spoke about briefly. DHEA, that's something I recommend only after laboratory testing. If you're deficient in it, it's something to consider in conjunction with your healthcare professional. It's a hormone, you have to be careful. ALA, alpha lipoic acid, and arginine. These are some supplements that have some research in aiding weight loss. So tell me, Mr. Smith, what fits better into your daily routine? 1 hour of exercise or 24 hours of dead? Don't forget the exercise. Exercise is beneficial for weight loss in so many ways. It can help to control your appetite, increases your metabolic rate, makes your hormones work more efficiently. And if you're having difficulty with weight loss, despite putting some of these things into practice, have a functional medicine evaluation to uncover your metabolic barriers to weight loss so you can correct them. My website has several articles on weight loss. I suggest you take a look at it. It's drdebe.com, DRDEBE.com. And now we'll open up for questions. You can type questions in the panel that should be to your right, and I'll do my best to answer them. Again, for anybody who has an interest, we did a webinar last month on taming your appetite, curb your cravings, and that's posted on my website on the webinars page. And if everything goes well here, I'll be posting this webinar there as well. Okay, let's see. I have a question. Are the coconut milk and frozen yogurt foods okay? Coconut milk, I think, is a good choice. Frozen yogurt, I think, may or may not be. Depends on what's in the yogurt. When we talk about yogurt and dairy products, there's a number of areas to consider. There's some controversies. I prefer people use organic dairy wherever possible, and with yogurts, including frozen yogurts, sugar content can be an issue. A regular yogurt typically might have the equivalent of like 6 teaspoons of sugar. Frozen yogurt, I'm sure, is going to be pretty similar. Some of the frozen yogurts use artificial sweeteners. I'm not a fan of artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners have various negative effects. Aspartame and I think Splenda maybe as well increase insulin release. Insulin's a fat-building hormone. And sucralose, the Splenda, causes an imbalance in the types of bacteria in the intestinal tract, which is not a healthy change. Aspartame is now on the EPA's list of toxic substances. So I recommend avoiding the artificial sweeteners. So you have to watch out for that in your yogurts. I heard of a frozen yogurt that may be sweetened with stevia. I'm going to look into that. Stevia, I think, is a very good choice for a natural sweetener. Stevia has no calories. It's derived from a plant. It's natural. It was found in a study that was comparing against aspartame and sugar to result in a lowering of blood sugar and insulin, which are beneficial changes for weight loss. Okay, I'll give a minute to see if there's any other questions. And if not, we'll wrap up and look for a notice for my next webinar, probably in a couple of weeks. Okay, I want to thank everybody for attending. I appreciate you taking out the time. I hope that was useful, and I look forward to doing it again soon. Thank you. Good night.